Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Between Sessions with Berries. I'm really excited to have our guest today. Kelly Higdon is here with us. If you guys don't know who she is, let me just tell you a little bit about her. You probably already do, but I want to introduce Kelly. She's an LMFT. She's a co-author of Therapist Burnout and co-founder of ZynnyMe and the Business School for Therapists. Kelly's work is all about building profitable private practices rooted in integrity, joy, and liberation, without sacrificing your soul in the process. As a Reiki master and conscious breathwork facilitator, Kelly blends clinical knowledge with deep embodiment to work to help therapists come home to themselves while growing a sustainable practice. If you've ever questioned whether you can thrive in private practice without burning out, this episode is for you. Kelly, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So I'd love if we could just jump in. I know you've helped thousands of therapists build private practices, and what you're doing goes far beyond just private practice strategy. You guys are like the masters of this. I say you guys because I know you have a partner, so I'd love to talk about that too.
Yeah.
But if you could share a little bit about your journey and what drew you to focus on burnout and healing within this business parameter for therapists, I'd love to just deep dive into all of it.
Well, I experienced a lot of burnout, and private practice was kind of my last-ditch effort to heal that burnout because I was working in county work. I ran one of the largest clinics in my county.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember one day looking at med schools and going back to school, and I thought, I should try something. I went to school for this. I know there's a part of me that loves it somewhere in there. I'm just not doing the work I love. And so private practice is where I jumped in. And what caused my burnout is likely what also caused burnout in private practice. Because I didn't heal it in the first iteration, I carried on some of those things into the second version. And I think a lot of my own journey with my health and my own well-being has led me to this place of, I see a lot of clinicians burnt out. And Miranda, who is my business partner and best friend, and I, we've been doing this for 15 years. Wow. And we have watched the landscape change. We have watched the system change. And every time the therapists stand in the gap of that, they get crushed more and more and more oppressed. And so the burnout is on the rise.
Yeah.
And I feel like the pandemic really did amplify it. And from there, we had already written like a handbook on burnout because we just see it a lot. And that people live their burnout through their practice. Then the burnout kind of gets fed by that practice. It's like this feedback loop. And so how do we heal it through our business so that we're not perpetuating misattunement and the clinical relationship? We improve our clinical outcomes, we improve our joy, we improve our income, right? But when you have burnout on board, it's those like gray colored glasses, I guess, and makes everything a lot harder.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So you kind of alluded to, you already kind of had the burnout, I guess, like running a huge agency in your community and then trying to go to private practice with that. So you already kind of had that brewing. What do you think is the root cause of burnout for us as therapists anyway, in the beginning? Like what gets us there? I feel like it's part of grad school in a way, like it's a badge of honor, but I'd just be curious to hear your take on it, especially for newer therapists that are listening to this. Yeah.
I think it's the system, right? We're already coming out of school burnt out because we are in a system that tells us that we must work for free. We have to pay our dues. We're not taught the value of the work that we do. The system doesn't have a value feedback, right? They don't. Insurance companies try to lower our rates and things like that. So it's a systemic issue. We are in a system that causes the burnout. And so what happens is the therapist says, well, I'm just not taking care of myself. And what I love about private practice is that you create the system. Yes, we're still within capitalism. Yes, we still have insurance and things like this that are still can be part of our practice, but we are in full creation and decision and sovereignty about the practice that we are creating. And that's what heals the burnout. It's not the bubble baths. Those things are nice. We do need to nurture our bodies, our hearts, our minds, but we also want to create a system that is protective of us and preserves us. And school doesn't preserve us. Our internships don't preserve us. They exploit us.
Yeah.
So that is where the burnout's coming from.
I mean, I'll never forget having to do, what was it, like 40 hours a week paid internship to meet my clinical hours. And then I'm like working overnights in a foster care boys home, just trying to pay the bills. I mean,
what the heck?
It's like, oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, it was just exhausting. I was much younger then. I was like, I've got this. I was determined to get my master's degree and all that stuff. But just looking back on it now, I don't even know how I got through it. And then go into community mental health. And that's just, oh my gosh, 50, 60 on a caseload. You've got all this documentation requirements you've got to meet. It's just unbelievable.
So I think that oftentimes the system wants you to fix it. They're going to look to you and be like, well, you need to do better. You need to work harder. You need to organize yourself better. You need to, all these things, when really we need to push back on the system. You need to pay a living wage. I don't sign contracts that don't value me. But we end up kind of in this abusive relationship with the system because we're afraid we can't survive without it. And so we agree to things that don't align. And that is just a recipe for the burnout, resentment, and fatigue.
Exactly. And that was kind of my next question around this. What are the signs that a therapist looks successful on paper, right? Like maybe I've got a huge group practice, or I am the head or the CEO or director of a community agency. You look great on paper, but what are the signs that you're deeply out of alignment with what's working for your soul, your energy, your well-being? How do you know when you're like on the cusp of that,
This is why I like indigenous wisdom. If you look at like how they teach about the human nature, world system, whatever, every level, it comes from this 4 quadrants of heart, mind, body, spirit. So I teach therapists, like you need to look at all 4 quadrants, right?
Yeah.
What is in your heart? How do you feel towards your practice? What emotions come up? Sometimes when we're burnt out, there's resentment. There's feeling of like when your caseload cancels and you're just like so relieved. Or you wake up with dread of, I don't want to do this. That can be a sign. So examining the emotional landscape. Mind, what kind of thoughts do you have about it? Are you just dreading things? Are you often frustrated in your clinical work? Are you frustrated with your team? All this kind of stuff. And then spirit is like your creativity. Are you creating things that align, that give you joy? Or do you feel blunted? Do you feel like this is what it is? There's no color being brought into the practice. And then in your body, the amount of autoimmune conditions, I have an autoimmune condition that therapists have is incredibly high. And I think our bodies are trying to speak to us and we are not listening. And in some of the practices that I have learned from, the body tells the truth. So oftentimes you want to know if you're burned out, look at your body. How is it feeling? What does it feel like to be in it? What is it telling you? Are you listening? Those are some signs. And I will also say you can have success on paper, which is numbers, right? Like I have a high caseload, but are your profit margins there? Your profit margins can be there, but are you exploiting other clinicians to get there? You may have a group practice, but you don't pay well. What does success really look like? We have to go back to redefining that. And I think a lot of people who entered into group practice or really built these huge caseloads are realizing, actually, that's not it. That burned me out. I have this much capacity. And this comes from privilege, because if we look at other peers and we say, this is what success looks like, it's a multi-location group practice. I, at my physical capacity, could not do that.
Right.
I medically could not do that, energetically could not do that. Other people can, good for you. That's your privilege. That's who you are. And so really creating something that molds to us is important, but you have to be aware of yourself and what would fit you. Right? So if I'm trying to fit into somebody else's dream, it's not going to work. So success, like redefining it and then seeing how all parts of you feel about it and really taking the time to be honest with yourself.
Yes, I love that. I could just think of soul-crushing jobs I've had before, where it's like, I've got to sit and do psychoeducational groups for people that have just gotten out of a DUI or something like that, versus I want to be doing yoga and dream analysis. That's the kind of work I want to be doing where I'm stuck in this other type of thing that I'm forced to be in, this box that I have to be in and prescribed to. It's just soul-crushing. Yeah, totally. Okay, so for therapists who are burned out, if they're listening to this and they're like, yeah, that's me, what's the first thing they need to stop doing so they can rebuild and get aligned with what they need to be doing in their lives to not be burned out and to have a fulfilling career as a therapist?
Yeah. Stop looking for a magic wand that's going to fix it. I find a lot of people ask a lot of questions, but they're so tired they can't implement.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I recently had someone join our business school who was like, I don't even know if I want to do this work anymore. And I was like, well, Maslow's hierarchy of need. Are you sleeping? Are you taking care of yourself? No. Well, let's start there. Before you start going and hoping that someone is going to fix this or something, there's this one thing. No. You have to sometimes deconstruct and rebuild, a little bit of a phoenix rising from the ashes. But first, you have to have the energy and the capacity to do whatever it's going to take to rectify. So that may mean not taking on anything new, not looking for someone else to tell you what to do, but kind of tapping into your own internal wisdom. What do you need to regain your capacity to show up for your business and be in relationship with your business? That's where I would always start. If you're not even showing up for yourself, then we're not going to do something fancy here. We need to slow down. I often find that once people do that, then they have the capacity to evaluate financially, any kind of shift. I always say shift with what you already have before you create something new.
Love that.
So maybe it's a tweak of your fees. Maybe it's getting off one bad paying insurance panel that just creates space and makes the caseload a little smaller or gives you a little bit more breathing room. And then you can move into more strategy.
And what I'm hearing is boundaries. It's like looking at what are the things that are really causing me the most distress or discomfort and see if I can just make tiny shifts with the system that I'm already in first. Yeah. To get some freedom, some space to be able to sleep or breathe or niche down more or rewrite your website copy to attract more of your ideal client, like that kind of stuff. That's awesome. Such good advice. So I know what you guys do in business school. I want to talk about that. And also, it's a space where I know that you have creative for therapists, that you challenge them to dream bigger and not just work their whole lives, but dream. What do you want this thing to look like? Make it about you and what your practice would look like and all of that. So could we talk about how the business school works, but also maybe some wins from some students that you've seen come in totally burned out? And it's like, oh my gosh, we had this one student that did this, this, and this, and now she's this, and it's amazing. Can we give a little context around that? Be amazing.
Yeah, I think at the heart of what we teach is how to build a business that also improves clinical outcomes while improving your quality of life and income. Every business decision you make, how you show up in your processes, all of these things influence the clinical outcomes. So if we can find that win-win between it improves for the clinician and it improves for the client, that to me is a beautiful kind of business model. So yes, you have to pay your taxes. And yes, there's these frogs that you have to eat. That's what we call it, eating the frogs. But when you can make the connection to how that impacts the client and the therapeutic relationship, and then also feeds back into your own joy and happiness and bank account, then it's easier to be in your business. It's actually attractive and you want to be there. And, when we talk about testimonials and things, I think about one of our clients. I've worked with her for 10 years because business school you have lifetime access to the material.
That's amazing.
And then you get additional coaching and stuff for a year, and then you can renew in a community. So I've watched her from the beginning. And I think that's the thing of these things take time. Sometimes people are lucky. I will say that.
Yeah.
And they have some overnight thing that happens. But most of the time, it's people showing up for themselves, working through their stuff, and continuing to evaluate. Because when I first met her, she was pregnant with her first child. And now she has a 5th grader and a 3rd grader. And the iteration was individual practice, doing couples work, loving working with infidelity. No, thank you. I would not.
No.
No.
Me either.
but really loved it.
Yeah.
But then as babies came on and stuff like that, wanted to be home more, so did a group practice. Loved it. But then as babies got older and were in elementary school, realizing like, I don't want to manage more babies, like more staff. And so went back to individual, but then also decided I love ketamine therapy. I love brain spotting and is doing intensives. Isn't an intensive today. I know this. Like doing a 3-day intensive. Someone flies in to work with her.
Wow.
Does brain spotting. And it's really shifted the dynamic. Has a very small caseload and then mainly intensives and making like $25K a month. But there's many iterations that are flexing around the life and the need of that life. And so I think that that is really key here. The win isn't so much just the bank account, that's nice, but doing work, getting great feedback and great clinical outcomes and doing it in a way that really fits the lifestyle and adjusts, right? You and I were just talking about like having aging parents. Yes. You know, when you're a caregiver, when you are in different circumstances, your business needs to respond differently for you. So it's stuff like that. And then there's people that are just starting out. And what I love about people who are just starting out is they're not having to deconstruct. They're starting in a much more thoughtful, intentional place versus someone who just whipped it together and was like, oh no, what was I thinking? And then has to backtrack. And so people are getting more innovative. And I love seeing that. Equine therapy, we have someone with a barn with like horses and like multiple kind of streams of income from like renting the barn to doing equine therapy to all these different kinds of things, to people who are just loving their solo practice and saying, okay, this is what I learned from agency work. I don't want to repeat these things, and getting really clear on what kind of work they love to do, who they love working with, how they love working. We were never given permission. Like you said, you're thrown into, you're going to be doing this group for this DUI thing, and this is what you will do. Versus now, the creative control is within your hands, and we've never taken the time or given ourselves the permission to really think through, what am I good at? What do I really enjoy? It is a privilege. It feels like a luxury when you've been fit into all these boxes for so long. And so it's been lovely to watch business schoolers over the years, you know, watching them evolve. You know, QA Prep. I don't know if you know Melissa from QA Prep. She's a business schooler, right? And like watching her grow QA Prep, start a private practice, go back to QA Prep, and just really get super clear on her superpower. And when she's so happy and so alive. And I've watched her through so many circumstances in her life adjust and ebb and flow. And that is the beauty there. That's what I think it's all about. And then she gets great feedback. Clients love that, you know?
I love it so much. Just the idea of we evolve over time, and so does our niche and the work we want to do and how we want to deliver the work. And we may not want to be as clinical later for different reasons. We may want to have other income streams coming in, but having the just open-mindedness to walk into that and be like, it's totally okay to do whatever you want.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times we weren't given permission, and we are in systems that don't allow for that because we're trying to survive them. And I think maybe the way to say it is part of healing burnout is self-attunement. And then creating a business that's attuned to you as well.
Amazing.
You know, it's a relationship, a business in you. It's an extension of you. And sometimes I think when we're burnt out, it's like when you're in a relationship and you're just like, man, you haven't taken me out. You're angry. You're frustrated with the business. But the business is like, yeah, but you don't pay attention to me.
Yeah. Yeah. What about me?
Yeah. It's like, how can I nurture this part and have it give back? What am I giving to it? And I want to give from a full cup, not from this place of resentment and frustration.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. It's only going to be as healthy as you are, really. Your business systems, your private practice, or who you're working for, or anything is only going to be as healthy as you are. And if we're repeating the same patterns over our lifetime, we're not doing the work, like you said before, it's still going to be a very frustrating journey. Yeah. So a topic you guys talk about a lot is, I've seen you talk about a lot, is oppressive systems. And one question that comes up all the time is like, how can we design these practices that are clinically effective, financially stable, without replicating these oppressive systems or falling into the tech bros, all the insurance company requirements, all of that stuff that can really like trap us into maybe things we don't want to be involved in or doing. What's your advice about that? I see you guys talking about these different topics, the Fortune 500 companies and the EHRs that are tech bro run. I mean, there's just so much of it out there right now. So I just wonder, what's your advice around that? How do you guys help therapists navigate that? And maybe they do feel in tune with it, maybe they don't. Like, how do y'all help with that? Or what's your advice around that? It's a big topic. I know. We could probably talk about it for 3 hours, but.
Yeah, it's a big one because I think, again, I may have more privilege than the next person and privilege means you have power and you can use that power. So I think we have a voice, and where we put our money matters.
Yeah.
So, understand who you are bringing into your business, your partners that you're bringing into the business. Read your contracts. Do they align? We are all signing contracts. I see it. Therapists are just signing because this is what I have to do. Not really reading them and understanding what they're getting into.
Yeah.
We had a clinician who was under contract with an insurance company who had to give 18 months notice.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
18 months.
Oh my gosh.
And they would take you off the panel, so you couldn't take anyone new upon notifying, but you had to continue with your clients for 18 months.
Wow.
And bill. You need to contact the insurance commissioner. These kind of contracts are not in the best interest of care and for you. But they didn't know when they were signing, right?
Yeah.
And I think we have more power than we think. And as a collective, we need to be speaking up more and saying no to things that don't work for us. Every time we talk about some of the AI and tech companies,
right,
in terms of service delivery, where you are providing a service, they record the session, they take your notes, and they're building AI off of that.
Right.
To do assessments and things like that. So we are feeding our oppressor in the sense. We are giving them the tools to further diminish us. And so our labor is valuable, and where we put it is important. That is not to shame people who do work with these companies. You can advocate within the system. You can read the contracts. You can speak up. You can ask more questions. I'm not saying that tech companies are bad.
Yeah, right.
But if you look at the name of the game, when you are a publicly traded company, who gets the money? Who gets the protection? The shareholders, not you.
Right.
It's off of the labor of the clinician, and it's not for the benefit of the client either. It is murky, and I put my money where I put my time and energy, and I put my labor in things that align with my values. And sometimes people just didn't know. And so we're out here trying to help people become more aware and to find their voice to speak up when things don't work for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's rough.
It's tough. It is tough because it's so hard. Gosh, I mean, first thing I did when I got into private practice was hop on every insurance panel, because one, the practice I went into, they were like, that's what we do here, and I was like 26 or something at that time. And then 15 years later, it's like I'm on all these insurance panels. I didn't even realize half of them were not even paying me a living wage because I wasn't even doing my own billing. I wasn't even empowered around that. So it's so easy, I think, to just get into the next thing that's going to work to help me make money so I can make a living and still be able to see clients. It's just like...
Right. And I think we are giving our power away of like, this is the thing. Remember I said, don't go searching for magic wands?
Yeah, right.
This insurance company is going to save my practice.
Yes.
Alma is going to do it, or Headway or whatever. No, again, I believe private practice is still going to be sustainable 5, 10, whatever years from now, even if AI comes on board. Because what will happen is the service gets diluted.
Yeah.
There's going to be burnout. It shows up already in a lot of these places, and people are going to get wiser, and they're going to want really quality care. And you can do that in your private practice in a way that some of these others, it's very hard to do when you're seeing 35 clients a week and you're just like turning and burning. And some of you who are doing that would argue and say like, I get great clinical outcomes. Awesome. So then whatever I'm saying doesn't really matter. You know what you're doing. And within yourself, like, am I getting great clinical outcomes? Am I making a wage that is livable for me and my future? And we all get to create what we want, but just be aware of who you're bringing into the room with you.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, it is so complicated because I'm the biggest AI advocate out there. I obsess with AI. I teach therapists how to use AI and everything they do and all of that. But the other side of it
use it in business school.
Yeah, exactly. The other side of it is I know insurance-based providers. I've already read articles where the insurance companies are going to start an entry-level chat bot to brief intervention, like EAP stuff. That's going to now be, a line of AI before they even get to the EAP level. It's slowly going to change the complete landscape of how we do things. Even for me, it's like a love-hate. I love the AI, but I also am afraid of the AI and what it's going to do to our world as therapists and just in general. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think Forbes came out with a recent article. Was it Forbes? There was a study that showed ChatGPT is a better therapist than humans.
Yeah, I think it was Forbes.
But it's more because the speech patterns and that ChatGPT is like verbose and more self-affirming versus humans are more real.
Yeah.
So to quell our fears, so if any of you are kind of like nervous about this, this is why it's important to self-attune and to know how you're differentiated from AI or these other companies. And this is why people are being innovative in how they deliver the service, not because they want to obfuscate billing or anything like that, but because they're really clear about, okay, this 45-minute session weekly, who invented that?
Yeah.
It doesn't align with my body, my system, my clients, or whatever, and getting really tuned into trying different things and seeing what works. So being clear about who you are, what you do, the transformation that you support and facilitating will always help you stay more aware of who you're letting into that.
Yeah.
Right? And if it doesn't align, you're more likely to say no to a contract, that doesn't allow you to do your best work. But when we are bred on insecurity, when we are bred on dependency in the system, I remember the reason I hated my job. I supervised all these clinicians, psychiatrists, and nurses. And it was all about, how do I write this in a way that Medicare will pay? How do we write this in a way Medicare will pay, right? And so it's not about what I'm doing, or it's about like playing this game. And so the more that we can step away from that, I think the happier we will be.
Oh gosh, I know. The medical necessity game.
But like, imagine if all the therapists that work for BetterHelp one day realized, okay, first of all, there's a lot of violation of labor law here. And they just didn't go to work one day.
Oh my gosh.
Imagine what that would do. Like, if we remove our labor, the system will have to change. But
that's true.
It's hard to organize something like this.
It certainly is. Yeah. But you guys are doing good work, just putting the awareness out there into the world. I subscribe to your newsletter. I open it every time because I'm like, what are they talking about today? I want to know what they're up to. Because y'all are just, you just really try to stay helpful to the clinician and give them all the information about what they're doing, which I love. I think it's so important.
Now more than ever, more therapists are leaving the field and coming in, and the demand is not going away. And so we need to get really clear on how to do this in a way that is sustainable for us. We need to preserve ourselves because we are so valuable to this world, not because of just what we do in the world. You as a human is an important part of the whole ecosystem, and it's worth preserving and protecting and honoring.
Absolutely. And I feel like I see this shift now. I don't know if you guys see it in business school, probably, that it used to be like post-license and then we do the private practice. But I'm almost seeing a shift now where even like pre-licensed are trying to go out on their own, do their shingle out. They're getting more like aware of, I don't have to like go through this trajectory that I'm supposed to do. I don't know if you've noticed that.
In California, you can't do it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It really depends on your state. And we've had a lot of pre-licensed people open up their practices, pay for their supervision. So by the time they're licensed,
they're like full and
they're full. Wow. What happens like in California, they may go work under a private practice, but they're learning how to build that practice once they have their license and can leave. But I think more and more people are like, I don't want to do it this way, which is really great. Something I really love about this next generation of therapists is they're a little bit more, wait, why are we doing this?
Exactly.
I think about my own teenager who's like, why do I have to do this? And I was like, I get it. I don't know why. Sometimes like, this is just what your school wants you to do. And I agree, like, why? And they're more like, what is going on here? What is the logic behind the system? And I think that will be good for us.
Me too. Yeah. I can't even imagine where we're all going to be in 10 years from now. It'll be interesting for sure. Well, thank you so much. I would love if you would just talk about business school for 1 second, just to let people know exactly what it is. We kind of alluded to it. Would you just let them know how to like find business school and ZynnyMe and all that stuff? Because it's such a conglomerate of things that you guys do.
Yeah, if you go to ZynnyMe.com, there's over 15 hours of free trainings that you can get. And then you can check out our business school there. Our business school has been around 12 years ongoing, and we've served thousands of therapists. And we're really everything you need to build, grow, and revamp a solo or group practice. And there's coaching and community support and clinical consultation included. And it's really evolved over the years based on the outcomes feedback of our clients. So we practice what we teach. And at the end of the day, we really want you to be a fully embodied, healthy, centered human who's doing work that they love and that's getting great results with their clients. I mean, from the nuts and bolts to growth and beyond. It's the largest training program out there.
Yeah.
And it's been around probably the longest too now. So
I think so for sure.
Yeah.
You're definitely one of the first ones to come into my awareness when I started seeing
Thank
people
you.
on Facebook or private practice coaches or when it first came into my awareness, like, wait, what is this? I remember you guys right in the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. So I like to do these little lightning rounds right at the end, just like some quick.
Okay.
What's one daily practice that keeps you grounded every single day?
I drink a mud water every morning
nice.
and I sit outside and I look at my hill of fruit trees.
Oh,
That keeps me pretty grounded.
that's amazing.
Yeah. I could say meditate, but we don't do that every day. And sometimes it gets pushed to something else,
Totally.
And I will say breath. As a breathwork facilitator and stuff, I have to check in with my breath all the time. Breathing.
Such a good reminder. I need to remember that today, particularly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Best piece of advice you've ever received about redefining success?
I don't know.
Yeah. There's a lot out there, I know.
But are you really happy? I think that's just always the question of, but are you really happy? At what cost?
Yes.
That's something I use a lot when I coach. Of like, yeah, I'm doing great. I'm like, are you happy?
Yeah, because it sounds like you're not.
And what is it costing you to have all of this,
And last question is a quote or mantra that's been guiding you lately?
This is what I always use in my own healing work, again, from Indigenous wisdom. And it's the mind protects, the heart knows no depth, the body always tells the truth, and the spirit is always 2 steps ahead. So whenever I'm stuck in my mind, I remember like, oh, I'm protecting myself, probably from feeling. And my body will let me know that. And it's from those 4 places that we can consciously create. So it's really helpful for me to always tap into those 4 parts. So I live by that.
Oh my gosh. Amazing parting words. Thank you so much for being here. This was just amazing and so helpful. And of course, anybody listening, of course, we'll have all the information in the show notes for you guys to go check out Kelly and Business School and ZynnyMe. And thanks a lot, Kelly. I really appreciate you coming today.
Thanks, Kim.
You're welcome.